really want to watch this, bro. I want to watch this. What you must know for the NHL Stanley Cup Final, bro. I need to know. I'm going to Game 5 in person, not in the stadium. I don't think I'm getting tickets to the game, but I'm going to be there in the city, and I'm gonna be next to the stadium where they have what's called a moss pit right next to the Rogers Arena, which is where the Oilers play. So I'm gonna, like, me and some other friends, we're gonna go there. We're gonna watch the game live, bro. I'm excited, and I'm new to, like, I'm pretty new to, like, NHL. I used to watch when I was younger, back in like 2014, back between like 2013 and 2015. I was like, hockey was sort of my main sport at the time, if quote unquote. That's the one I would watch the most. So this is gonna be a good video for me, bro. I gotta know, like, what do I need to know? I've been watching the Stanley Cup this year, so I already feel like I know a good amount going into it, you know. But hey, we'll see what this video can teach me, bro. This is by Hockey Psychology, so let's get right into it, bro. I've seen like maybe one or two of their videos before today, and I liked them, so this is a good account, bro. It's a great account.
25 Stanley Cup Final is officially the rematch between the Florida Panthers.
Oh, not this shit again, bro.
The 2025 Stanley Cup Final is officially the rematch between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, bro, the rematch.
For the Panthers, it's an opportunity to cement their status as a modern dynasty, aiming for back-to-back championships and a third consecutive finals appearance. For the Oilers, they got a chance to bring back the cup to Canada since 1993, while their captain Connor McDavid walks a eerily similar path to the greats like Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky. Last year's series was a roller coaster, with the Panthers nearly squandering.
But I think he still got a lot more to win
before clinching the cup in Game 7. Now,
like, I think McDavid still has to win like a lot more to even be close in those conversations, right? Like, everybody knows he's the best player right now in the league. Everybody knows he's the best player, and they'll say he's like the best player of all time. You know, might say he's like, I would assume people would say, like, yeah, in all time he would be the best individual player with the best skill set or whatever, I think. But I know people don't consider him like the greatest of all time, you know. So they gotta, and to do that, like, he just has to win more Stanley Cup. Like, he just has to win more in general. So I don't know. We'll see if he can do that this year.
Both teams are back at it to go again. So let's dive into how these two teams got here and how they're going to try and expose each other in this 7-game series. This is everything you need to know for the 2025 Stanley Cup Final, so buckle up and get ready for one of the most anticipated rematches we've ever seen.
All right.
Before we dive in, let's talk about the #1 way to get the best seat in the house for any live event, and that is through SeatGeek. It's hands down the easiest way to find ticket deals. Skip those tickets. Look for the great away. SeatGeek is giving you 15% off whether you're
Feel free to use this. I appreciate the video. We're watching this video, obviously,
game,
so we'll see.
Trust me, it's an unreal spring golfing lesson.
We'll let the ad run through a little bit.
You can use SeatGeek for concerts, comedy, your next purchase. A great deal from SeatGeek. Now, the path for these two teams destined to meet in a rematch wasn't easy. The Florida Panthers entered the 24-25 season with the pressure of defending their Stanley Cup title and the wear and tear of 2 deep playoff runs. They had injuries and suspensions to keep players like Kachuk, Barkov, and Ekblad. They all missed time, while Verhaeghe and Bobrovsky weren't quite at their peak. And if you consider the fact that Florida sent the league-high 8 players to the Four Nations tournament mid-season,
that is crazy.
Many people wondered just how much gas there was in the tank. However, you mix in some vitamin D, some beers on the beach, this team knows all they have to do is make it to the dance and then turn it on. Oh, and just to piss everyone off, they picked up Seth Jones and the Rat King Brad Marchand at the deadline at the very last second to give a gigantic middle finger to the league while saying we're going for the back-to-back championship. They finished third in the Atlantic, got their rivals in the Tampa Bay Lightning, bent them over, and spanked them in 5 games while sending a message in the process that if you touch their captain, they will make you pay the price. Then they moved on to the circus of playing against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sam Bennett quickly became public enemy #1 after bumping into Anthony Stolarz and knocking him out of the series. That caused pure outrage, but despite that, the Panthers fell behind in the series for the first time in the playoffs, down 0-2. Yet these are the Panthers, and those are the Toronto Maple Leafs. Florida finds their game. They win 3 straight.
Yeah, I don't know much about again, like, I don't know much about the NHL or its history or whatever, but I know the Maple Leafs get get clowned a lot for sort of getting to certain places, but then never really like, winning what matters at the end, essentially. So, making playoffs and then getting knocked out, always like in the first or second round or some shit like that. I think, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's kind of what I hear along the grapevine, as they say.
Toronto forcing 7, but come on. Biggest guarantee in sports is a Leaf loss in Game 7, and Florida makes a statement while dominating with a 6-1 win to clinch the series and move on to face Carolina. Now, in the meantime, while Rod Brind'Amour was still trying to convince everyone that the Hurricanes didn't get swept by the Panthers 2 years ago, they were in the process of getting swept again as Florida won 3 straight. The Panthers said, okay, guys, let's be gentlemen here. They gave them a win so that they can hang the conference final banner, and then they closed this all up in 5 to head back to their 3rd straight Cup final. On the other side is the Edmonton Oilers. The heartbreak of almost making NHL history, coming all the way back down 0-3 to 4-7, only to lose just by 1 goal.
This shit last year, bro, they were down 3-0. They were down. Yeah, LeBron came back 3-1 against the Warriors, and that was insane. That was crazy. He's the GOAT. But 3-0. Like, Florida had to win 1 game, and Oilers take him to Game 7 after that, bro? Come on, man. That's an insane feat.
Was enough to send these guys on a journey for revenge. Except shit was already hitting the fan early in the season. They won just 6 of their first 14 games. McDavid looked off by his standards. He had his lowest points per game pace since 2019. Everyone was criticizing them for losing Broberg and Holloway to offer sheets. Goaltending remained a circus, but yet Leon Draisaitl, the German doctor, was still unstoppable. He led the NHL in goals, had an MVP caliber year and a mid-season run.
That's crazy.
21-6-2.
He had 52 goals?
MVP doctor was still unstoppable. He led the NHL in goals, had an MVP caliber year and a mid-season run of 21-6-2, vaulted Edmonton into 3rd place in the Pacific Division. That would set up a 4th straight first-round matchup with the LA Kings, and it looked like early, maybe this is finally the year for LA. They go up 2-0. The dream seems dead, and then the Oilers become the definition of locked in. They win 4 straight games to send the Kings home sick and nauseous. Then they moved on to the Golden Knights, except Edmonton actually came into the house and beat them. Draisaitl, along with the rest of the team, put the clamps against Jack Eichel and the Golden Knights, and they make quick work of them in 5, including a pair of shutouts by Stuart Skinner, who has suddenly looked like prime Carey Price. Finally, they meet Dallas yet again in the conference finals, and after losing Game 1, Edmonton finds the formula. All of a sudden, Dallas can't score a 5-on-5 goal. The Stars implode by pulling their franchise goalie 8 minutes into a do-or-die game, and Edmonton gets the ultimate opportunity to get revenge. Both teams, with a crazy path to get exactly where they were a year ago, are now ready to go to war again for the Stanley Cup. And considering that both teams haven't changed a whole lot to their game from when they met last year, the formula and tactics will likely be similar. For the Panthers, the game plan is simple, and it's what we've already seen for the last 3 years. Get the puck in deep, start the forecheck, and wear down Edmonton's D. Let's go back to last year's Stanley Cup final in games 1 and 3. The Panthers' 1-2-2 forecheck was their clear driving force for their success. Just like they do to every other team, once they force a turnover deep in their end, Florida's traps would sink their teeth and it would quickly turn into a nightmare for the Oilers. No surprise here, considering that this has been the Panthers' MO under Paul Maurice. These playoffs are no different. Every single layer will come at the Oilers with full aggression as each player will fill in the space and reload to maintain pressure. This is from last year's playoffs, and Bouchard actually does a good job here of eating the pressure.
Is that like a common strat in hockey where, like, do a lot of teams press really high like that? I'm sure obviously not all of them do, but like, is that common in the NHL to have teams that just press super aggressively the way that the Panthers do, seemingly? Or, like, I wonder. I know in football that's sort of becoming like a very important thing in modern football, soccer, if you want to call it that. Like, it sort of came from the German league, the Bundesliga, where that's a really offensive team, and a lot of those teams offensive league, and a lot of those teams rely on just scoring goals to win games. They're not. It's sort of the opposite to the Italian league, where the Italian league is very defensive, and they're very set. They're like heavily dependent on formations and strict formations and strict defensive instructions to make sure that teams can get a lead and then hold on to it. Whereas in the German league, it's the total opposite, to say we're just going to keep pressing you and suffocating you in your own zone, and we're going to score 5-7 goals. We don't care that you score 4 on us because we're going to beat you with 6. You know what I mean? That's sort of the idea in the German league. So I'm wondering in the NHL, like how, or maybe this is like an old tactic that's being used now, maybe like a sort of like the triangle offense, for example, in basketball. Like if a team was using the triangle offense now, obviously they'd get absolutely destroyed. But like, is that sort of the same thing as pressing in hockey, like a modern tactic, or is that a tactic of the past, is what I'm wondering. And also how common is that for teams to be pressing and really wanting to suffocate the team in their own zone like this,
In Bennett, he's going to let Draisaitl.
Oh, and is that typically effective even, right? Like, have we seen it before, but it just wasn't effective, and maybe Florida's doing something differently? I wonder all of that, to be honest.
Come in and take possession. But Rodriguez, as the F2, makes a really smart, quick decision to instead reload as the F3, while Tkachuk comes bombing in to give pressure around the net. When the puck gets to the Edmonton winger, the speed of Rodriguez's route already puts on the pressure. It's a turnover. Tkachuk buries. It's Groundhog Day. It's relentless. It's the staple of their offense, and the success of the forecheck will likely dictate who wins this series. The second part of Florida's game plan is controlling the gaps of Edmonton, especially in the neutral zone. Connor McDavid leads all players in these NHL playoffs in rush chances. Draisaitl is right behind him in second place, so the moment these guys get a sniff of a gap in the neutral zone, it's pretty much game over for Florida. Part of the reason Florida spanked Carolina was because their gaps in this area of the ice were just suffocating. There was no room to cook, and it needs to be the same against Edmonton. Of course, that enters the importance of captain Sasha Barkov. The Selke winner and best two-way forward in the world shut down Connor McDavid to 0 points in Games 6 and 7 last year. Barkov is the conscience of the Florida Panthers, and as the center, he's usually the F3 and last safety valve for Florida so that their Ds can stay aggressive on the walls and keep the forecheck alive. His anticipation almost always had him in the right spot to stay above McDavid and close in on any gap advantage that he may have. The Barkov on McDavid or Draisaitl matchup will be huge. However, Edmonton will have a response to this as a team. Shifting over to the Oilers' game plan, their number one priority for negating the Panthers' forecheck will be to stretch them out. In these very playoffs, we've seen how effective this can be against Florida to get their D to have to back off of their relentless pressure. Edmonton actually had a ton of success with this strategy last year. The Oilers would consistently send a winger to fly out of the zone, get the Panthers D to back up, and hit him with a stretch pass. At the same time, that also opened up space underneath for the Oilers to make plays, and it created the very gaps they were looking for in the neutral zone. It's no secret, the Florida Panthers are the best team in the league at forcing the play to the wall and to one side of the ice. The Oilers are going to try and have their D active and get up to jump into play while quickly changing sides and attack up ice. Toronto in these playoffs did have some success beating Florida on the counter with this, and so had Edmonton in their 2 matchups this year. Both will be key in beating the Panthers' forecheck while creating some good counterattacks off the rush. But once in the O-zone, the Oilers' nuclear weapons will look to use these scissor routes. The Panthers play a hybrid system, so when the puck is up high in the zone, they get into man-on-man coverage. The Oilers, however, specifically Draisaitl and McDavid, use these scissor routes quite often on the perimeter and high in the zone to turn man-on-man coverages to scrambled eggs. Shocker, the Oilers used it quite a bit last year, and we've seen them use it this year, and I'd expect they pull it out again once they get cooking with extended possessions. When it comes down to it, these two teams are closer than they were last year, which may or may not make any sense considering it went 7 games. But the Oilers as a whole are a lot deeper this year in my opinion. They can hunt on the forecheck just as well as Florida. They can defend really well, and Stuart Skinner has turned into Carey Price. Put all of this together, it's likely the reason why the Oilers are slight favorites to win the Cup. However, the Panthers are just straight up dogs. If they get to the Oilers' D-core and rattle Skinner, things can get off the rails. But I think that the revenge tour comes full circle. McDavid finishes the story and gets his first Stanley Cup in a 6-game series for the Oilers to come out on top. Then again, my bracket was a pathetic mess, so who the hell knows what's going to happen? Anyways, drop your thoughts down below. Who do you think is going to win the cup? Who's your sneaky X factor for the series? Let us know in the comments down below, and make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on for the finals, because we're going to be breaking down every single game. You can check out some of our past breakdowns here, and we'll see ya for game 1.
There you go, man. There we go, dude. Yeah, shout out Hockey Psychology. Great video. Enjoyed watching it. What you must know for the NHL Stanley Cup final. Again, that's going to be linked down in the description below. I'm excited, bro. This is good. This is my first year where I'm really like watching the Stanley Cup. And I think starting next year, like this next season after this finals, I'm gonna start definitely watching a lot more hockey. I feel like it's a very fast growing sport, bro. There's a lot of people that are getting into it again. And I'm interested, bro. I'm interested to watch some games. It's very fun to watch as well, you know. So, you know, I'm glad to get a little more information about the finals before I pull up, you know what I mean? Like, I gotta know, bro. I gotta know what to look out for and what not to and shit. So, hey, man. Again, shout out Hockey Psychology. That was a great video. Great video.